stock market is not dead yet. So that means we have to be here again. So welcome everybody to, I guess we are calling this Pro Traders React. We need to go over Nvidia, we need to go over CRWV, and all the other fun stuff happening in the market. So let us know in the chat how everybody's doing, what you're watching, where you're listening from, all that good stuff. We have our friend Judy's here, we have Z, we have Ash, we have Brant, we have It's. Hope everybody's doing well. Okay, so I want to start off with what is everybody's favorite pork dish? No, I'm just kidding. We'll get to that stuff later. Okay, but we do need to talk about this market because not long ago, everybody was calling this for everything's going to die because of tariffs and this and that. So, Sammy, I want to start with you because over the weekend you posted a video and you said you don't care about the futures, you don't care about the bond market, you don't care about the news, and you said we're going to all-time highs. So why are you ignoring everything everybody else is watching?
Mike, what the hell? What kind of a question is that? You know me. But okay, all like the price action tells you what's happening, and that's all you need to know. If you try and interpret the news and make that part of your analysis, you're gonna be coming up with opinions that might be true, might not be true, might be relevant, irrelevant to the market. So I ignore all of that, and I strictly focus on price action. That's all I need to know. That's all I need to see. That's what's happening. That's how I'm gonna get paid if I'm right. But if I introduce a bunch of different variables that are subject to interpretation, and you have to also consider how the market is going to interpret that news, whether bullish or bearish, because we know in bullish markets, even bearish news gets bought, and in bearish markets, even good news gets sold. So I don't worry about that stuff. I keep it simple, stupid, and it works for me. So that's why I don't look at the futures. I don't look at the bonds market. I don't look at anything other than the equities market, which is what I trade. If you trade the futures, go ahead and look at the futures. But if you trade equities only, I don't think you need to look at anything else. And I don't feel like I'm missing out by not looking at the other markets.
It sounds like a good also time-saving hack to just not bother, pay attention to all this stuff. Just, I don't know, keep it focused on stocks. Okay, so JR and Derrick, do you agree with Sammy's assessment? It's just the price action is what it is, and this news maybe just doesn't matter as much as everybody thinks.
No, but that's okay.
Tell me how you...
Oh, you want me to expand?
Tell me how you use news and interpret news and incorporate news into your own trading.
I think news are a fantastic source of contrarian volatility for one, and a great way to gauge sentiment. And I think there's a lot of other indications. I personally, here's what I'll say. I have an Aunt Janet. She's an old school Brooklyn auntie, Sephardic Jewish. Every time she calls me once a week, every couple of weeks, she asks me how things are going. I start giving her details, and she goes, "Stop. Are you making any freaking money?" The only thing she cares about. How you doing? Are you making any money? This is a stupid conversation because Sammy gets from the market what he needs to see for his cognitive parallax. He needs to see price action, and he's a purist, and he does great with that. I need to see other things. The only thing that matters is, can you find an edge in the market that works for you? Can you apply it and make money? The end. That's the thing that matters. I look at the market a little bit differently, right? I think inflows in the market are really important. I think gamma exposure levels are super important. They dictate how the market's going to act, whether you're positive or negative gamma. Like, these things matter. I think correlations in the markets are really important, right? Like, looking at a chart like this as a day trader you guys can't see my charts. I'm just going to use SPX gold, right? Or Sailor to shift ratios, whatever. A lot of correlations in the market are important. And if you're a precision day trader, right, and you say, for example, there's an inverse relationship between the dollar and the S&P 500 at the moment, and you're into a demand zone for the dollar index, and you're really looking like the dollar is going to want to buy us, maybe you don't want to take that leg 2 or leg 3 because maybe you also have an area of really high liquidity, a point of control at the moment, and you have an inverse correlation that could potentially be nipping you in the butt. So there are certain data points that matter some of the time. I think the advantage to Sammy's approach is that it tends to have less noise in it, and so it allows you to focus, which is great. But I'm very discretionary in how I trade. There's some times in the market where it's all about watching crude and say, for example, crude, gold, and the dollar, right? And there are some of the times in the market where it's all about the VIX. So I'm really discretionary. Like, the market's always worried about something, okay? We climb a wall of worry, and there's always a theme in the market that's really important. So I'm discretionary. When it's all about, watching crude, like, that's going to be another data point that I add, right? So I'm just much more discretionary, and I make sure to filter through my cognitive parallax what I need to see and cut out the rest of the noise, because otherwise it'll hurt you as a trader, and you're going to end up going in a million directions and have analysis by paralysis. But I don't think that price action should be the only thing I'm looking at for how I trade. And but I totally respect that that's what Sammy believes, and it works for him. And that's the only thing that matters, guys. As traders, like, no one's going to pay your bills. No one's going to hit the buy or sell button for you. It's a very lonely business. You have to find your edge. And once you find it, hang on for dear life, because very few people do. And that's all I got to say. See, I wanted to keep it short, but you're like, you're trying to. There it is.
Okay. All right. So Derrick, which one of these guys is wrong?
Neither of them. They're both correct. So I agree with both of them. For myself personally, I love to combine the narrative with what I call market dynamics with technicals. I really input all three of those things combined with my trading. The narrative is, I think, important because it gives you an understanding of the things that can potentially cause a failed technical move. You're looking at a pattern, and it's like, well, for example, the market's looking super bullish right now, but what happens if we get a terrible non-farm payrolls number on Friday? That could be a catalyst that causes a bullish technical pattern to fail. And then if you can combine that with knowing where there's a CTA sell trigger, then all of a sudden that can feed on itself because the market dynamics come into play, because you're getting forced selling that actually comes into the market at that point. But with that said, I think that the technicals are really the most important thing. What I have been telling my team recently over and over and over again recently is, look, guys, right now, there are 1,000,001 reasons to be bearish. There's 1,000,000 reasons to be bearish right now. Things are going south with the China-US trade negotiations. We saw that news hit on Friday. It brought the market down for all of 20 minutes. We had a bad manufacturing ISM number on Monday. It brought the market down for all of about 12 minutes. We had a bad ADP number this morning. It brought the market down for about 10 minutes. We had a bad services ISM number today at 10 o'clock. It brought the market down for also about 7 minutes before we kind of V-bottomed off of that. You can have 1,000,000 reasons right now to be bearish, but the market just broke out. So what I'm telling my team is, take those reasons why you might be bearish right now, file them in the back of your head. Don't forget about them. Don't throw them away. But would I rather be buying the market when it's breaking out because it's breaking out? Or would I rather be shorting the market when it's breaking out because I think that tariffs are bad for the economy? I would much rather be buying the market when it breaks out. But I'm filing that information in the back of my head and saying to myself, maybe there is a little bit of a higher probability of a false breakout, but let the market show you that that's going to happen. know the levels that we just broke out from in the S&P and the NASDAQ, and know that if we get back below them, maybe we have a failed move to the upside. A failed move to the upside could lead to a fast move to the downside, and then pounce on it on the way down when the technical trigger is actually there, and you have a appropriate execution point based on technical analysis and an appropriate stop loss where you could potentially try to trade a failed breakout if it happens. But guess what? I'm wrong all the time. Everyone is wrong all the time. It's like literally part of the business. And let's say that you're super bearish on this market and the false breakout never triggers. How much money are you going to lose? You're going to lose nothing, because you never actually got short, because the technicals never actually confirmed the idea that you had in the back of your head. So I love the idea also of just kind of keep it simple, stupid. Like, instead of just analyzing all of the information on the why we could have a false breakout, you can just analyze the technicals of a false breakout when it actually occurs. But for me personally, and I really much agree with what JR said about traders and their styles and developing their edge. For me personally, when the technicals line up with my thought process, that is when I have the most conviction, and that is when I make the most amount of money. And when the technicals don't line up with my thought process, I can still make money, because I would rather trade the technicals than trade what I think. But I'm probably going to do it with a little bit less sizing in those situations, and that's fine also. You've got guys in this business that I've seen, and gals, make money in a million different ways. I know people that are running HFT robots who don't give a damn about fundamentals or technicals. It's all quantitative. I know guys that are 100% technicals. I've heard of this guy, Warren Buffett, who probably doesn't care about technicals really at all, who has been pretty successful for himself. You need to figure out what is your edge and how you make money. And for a lot of people, it's kind of combining these different thought processes and learning from different mentors, and then applying what makes sense to them into their own approach and into their own style.
Okay, let us know in the chat, how valuable do you find news? Let us know, again, in the chat, how valuable you find news, or whether you are just all technicals like Sammy. We have a nice comment from Javier. I love the top-down approach that Derrick does in the morning meeting. And according to that, I have your watch list for the day and then wait for price action setups. But Derrick, on the other hand, FBI security is still watching you. So we're going to be a little bit careful today. Okay, all right. I want to go back to NVIDIA. So we discussed NVIDIA last week into earnings. And the consensus seemed to be here that it looked pretty good, but not amazing. And it seems like that's what happened in the report. It was pretty good. They're having a bunch of issues in China. So I wanted to ask a very simple question to all my friends here. Is NVIDIA back?
Just like the market, yes, it is. But just like the market, it's up a lot. So you would think it needs to slow down a bit. But yes, NVIDIA is definitely back. Look at the monthly chart, how bullish it is. The biggest bottoming tail I've ever seen, maybe. So I think, I think NVIDIA is back. The market is back, but it needs to probably slow down a little bit because it's hitting resistance and it's up so much. That's what I think.
It's funny. It feels like nobody wants to. I don't know if there are people who are super bullish. It does feel like nobody wants to say it out loud. I think it almost feels like everybody's afraid to look silly. Okay, JR, how about you? What do you think of NVIDIA? I know you're a big long-term bull on AI in general. You still like NVIDIA?
Sorry, can you come again?
Do you like NVIDIA?
We got CrowdStrike news just now. There is SEC investigation potential. Do I like NVIDIA? Yeah, you've got a bit of a call wall there at 140. I think NetGex might be 145 now, and so you have a steady slew of sellers there in the low 140s. I expect a couple of weeks of absorption, and if the market breaks all-time highs and we have price acceptance over 145, I expect it to continue higher. I've been saying forever, NVIDIA looks to me like a chart that's going to 200. It's just going to take a while.
Okay, Derrick, what do you think of our friend NVIDIA here?
Nvidia looks great. We called out a long in that name yesterday pre-market for continuation after the inside day. It had pulled back for 2 days off the earnings gap up, kind of filled that earnings gap up, retested the 80 MA on the daily, gave a rest a couple of days ago with that inside candle. Yesterday was the inside and up for continuation. So that was your buy setup right there. Don't love a new long here because I feel like it's chasing a little bit. I think you want to have it from yesterday. But the thing overall looks great. It's leading the market higher. AI is leading the market higher. It's a little bit weaker today, but that might just be some digestion after a nice 2-day move. The 140 level has been pretty important. I remember trading this thing on earnings after hours on that day and seeing a big buyer step in on the way up in the tape at 139.80 something. And that like 139.80 through 140.20 has been really important on both sides ever since then. And then even today, it overshot it a little bit to the downside when the market was selling on the economic number that hit at 10 a.m. this morning, but it still roughly held that support zone and bounced right back off of it. And that was actually another great spot to look for short-term long opportunity in the stock. The thing it's fantastic. It's a leader.
Okay, all right. I want to pivot to a related name, and I literally just thought of this like a minute before we came on, but CRWV. Six weeks ago, nobody wanted it. I'm sure I made fun of it at least a couple times. Now it's quadrupled, and it feels like the new SMCI because it's up a lot. It's related to AI, and people don't really know what it does, but they just know the stock goes up a lot. So I wanted to do any of you guys have thoughts on this wacky CRWV situation?
It's hot smoking garbage. I want to short it very, very badly.
But will you short it? That's the question.
Yes. Well, I mean, these people, at least SMCI at some point made money. This company is a heaping pile of trash, fundamentally, and it moves way overdone. Is it probably going to go to $200? Yeah, but I mean, this chart looks ridiculous.
Okay, so are you waiting for some big surge up before you actually put that surge on? I mean,
yeah,
short
I think
on?
it's the surge on. Yeah, I think it's going to go parabolic at some point, and you're going to get a game of musical chairs, and everyone's eventually going to sell it once.
Okay, Derrick and Sami, are you guys following CRWV?
I am. I'm just waiting. So you asked JR, what are you waiting for? I'm waiting for a reversal bar. So if you look at today's candle on the daily chart of CRWV, if it closes like this, that qualifies as a reversal candle. So anytime you get a cross or a doji bar or a little tail, topping tail, bottoming tail, that's a reversal bar because the stock is parabolic already. So just under it's short. So if it actually closes like this, then tomorrow under it's short. We'll see. But that's what I'm looking for, and I have been following it. I don't like the fact that it slowed down a little bit for a week or so, and then it continued higher. It would have been better if it had never slowed down and just continued to move up. This is like somebody running a marathon, and then they rest a little bit, maybe not too much, and then they start running again. Okay, they're gonna run out of steam, but they would have run out of steam already if they hadn't rested at all. And so it would have been better if we didn't. You see those little red bars, a few red bars last week. It would have been better if the CRWV had just continued on without stopping, without pausing at all. So we'll see. But I'm waiting for the kind of bar that we're getting so far today. But we'll see how it ends up closing, and then we need to take it out also.
Yeah, the problem with a chart like this is you could finish on a doji or a hanging man, gap up above, and all the overnight shorts get squeezed off in the morning. This could go another $50. Like, you just have to wait.
Right. So I would wait until the low of that bar gets taken off. That would be my
100%. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, like the thing I see that's really crazy with CRWV is the put skew. Like the IV on the puts relative to the calls is absolutely insane. So people are paying big money for those puts. So Derrick, what do you think of this beautiful piece of dynamite?
Yeah, so I shorted it 2 weeks ago when it was really starting to get above 100 for the first time, and it was like a day 5 to the upside with a gap up. I made a few dollars on it. I held it for like a night or two, and I got out of the way. I didn't trade it at all last week, and now it's starting to get a little bit silly again. So I've got my eye on it as well. I like it broadly speaking to the short side with a good signal, or maybe you could start by getting a little bit of a feeler position just to have something on the books, and then when you get that real signal, exactly like JR and Sami are talking about, then you short it. But here's the thing about this stock. So first of all, it's a recent IPO, so you're not at the lockup expiration yet. And lockup expirations are really important for these things because it increases the tradable flow. On top of that, when it did the IPO, it was really hated at that time. It had trouble getting off the ground. They had to reduce the amount of stock that they were selling on the IPO. So you automatically have then a smaller float than it was originally going to have. And on top of that, to get this thing off the ground, Nvidia had to step in and buy an additional stake in the stock. And I'm pretty sure, I can't say it with certainty, they might not even be able to sell, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that they're at least not selling. So, what you end up having with some of these IPOs is, because the tradable float is so small, because the lockup expiration hasn't hit yet, and then especially when you combine the two other factors I just said about reducing the initial share size and Nvidia having to take a larger stake, it just means that there's not much of a tradable float out there, so they can squeeze the hell out of these types of stocks. I've seen it happen so many times. Anyone remember, I think it was HKD, was like the craziest, most insane thing I've ever seen? That was a worthless company. I mean, does it even still exist anymore? Yeah, it does. It's $2. That thing was worthless, and everybody knew it. But if you shorted it at $250, you probably blew up your account and ended your career before you were right on the trade. And it doesn't matter that you were right, because your account was at zero by the time you were. So you got to be really careful with these recent IPOs. I totally echo what JR was saying. I don't think this company belongs at this price. Everyone knows they need to do additional capital raises. There's going to be secondary offerings at a certain point. This thing at some point is going to come down a lot from the price that it's currently trading. But does it peak today at 159? Does it peak in a few more days at 250? Your guess is as good as mine. All we can do as traders is exactly what the boys here were just talking about, is wait for the technical signal that this thing is breaking off of its parabolic move, and then short it when you have an appropriate signal to put the short on, an appropriate way to manage risk, and then you can potentially make some money there. But if you're just blindly shorting this thing, I mean, the stock made no sense at 100. It makes no sense at 120. It makes no sense at 140. It won't make any sense at 185. But that doesn't matter. It almost circles back to the conversation we were having earlier about understanding fundamentals kind of not mattering. It's the technicals. In the back of my head, I like the fact that I am confident that this thing is not even worth more than $100. But I'm not just going to blindly short it at 140 because I think it's overvalued at this price. It's a great way to lose money.
Okay, let us, everybody who's watching on YouTube and Twitter and elsewhere, let us know in the chat, what do you think of CoreWeave? Is it going to 100? Is it going to 200? 300? Let us know what you think in the chat. Okay, all right, so this is going to bring us to obviously the controversial part of today's show. So I'm going to ask our panel here, what is the best way to eat a potato? And I'm going to kick it off by saying it's tater tots, because they bring you back to your childhood. They remind you that sometimes the government does get things right, because if you ever went to public school, you were given tater tots. Plus, they give you crunch. You add ketchup for sweetness. Tater tots cannot be beaten by any type of potato dish, except for maybe like gnocchi. But that is my case. It is tater tots or it is nothing. I could see JR is getting upset. So I will ask my boys here.
You're speaking to two residents of the state of Idaho, okay? And you just said tater tots out loud.
Okay, please explain to the people of Idaho what's wrong with tater tots. Here, BA rocks, tater tots rocked, correct.
It's just an American. The best potato clearly is a potato you've slow roasted in over a fire or an offset smoker with plenty of butter and spices, obviously. Tater tots. I can't with this guy. I just can't.
Who would not? I don't know. Let me know in the audience who would not choose tater tots. Like, look at these people. French fries, not as good as tater tots. Mashed potatoes, nope. Poutine might be in second place, but okay. Derrick and Sami, what do you think? What is the best way to eat a potato?
Microwaved. Just kidding. I don't know. I mean, baked is good. Oven roasted is good. French fries, amazing, especially if you get them at McDonald's.
Sami, this is not your buy list. We just need one name. We need
I
one
don't
way
know.
to eat a potato.
I'm just saying, it tastes good no matter how you eat it. Even microwaved will work sometimes.
Okay, Derrick, do you agree that tater tots are the best way in the universe to eat a potato?
So I gotta be very careful that I don't get assassinated after this podcast and with some of the things I'm about to say. I am married to a beautiful wife of Irish heritage, and in addition to that, I live in Idaho. I have these trucks that drive by in front of my house that have potatoes just over the rim of them, and they just pop off right there in this bump in front of my house, and I can just literally walk onto the street and just pick up potatoes and have them if I want to. It's really kind of crazy. But here's the thing, and this is why I got to be careful. I think that the French fry is the most overrated food, period. The most overrated food is the French fry. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad food necessarily. I'm saying it's the most overrated food. Everyone loves it, and ketchup is honestly not that great with your fries. If I got to do it with something like that, it's probably going to be maybe barbecue sauce. I don't know. And then here's the next controversial statement.
No. Wait. We got to. I'm not going to let you go. So, what is the crowd getting wrong about French fries?
I mean, they're just like salty, and they don't have a ton of taste. Like they're just not. They're very unhealthy. I've hit the point where almost always, if I'm at a place and I'm getting a sandwich, a burger, or whatever, and fries are the side, I pretty much always replace it with the side salad at this point. I don't know why I want to eat a food that's not good for me, that I just don't. If it's ice cream, if this is cookies and cream ice cream, then fine. It's worth it for me to be a little bit unhealthy for the joy that I'm going to give to my mouth. But it's not there with the French fries. So I want to say two things on the best way to do it. One is curly fries. I like a curly fry. You don't see them that much anymore. They can't be too greasy. A nice crispy curly fry, but also I greatly prefer sweet potatoes over regular potatoes. If I'm gonna do it, a baked sweet potato all day, some cinnamon, some butter on there, I'm happy with it. If it's got to be fries, I'd rather than be sweet potato fries over regular fries. It's also a healthier potato than a super starchy white potato. But I got a duck and cover. I might have to leave. It's very dangerous talking this way in the great state of Idaho.
Very.
Wow. Yeah, we do have some curly fries fans in the in the chat. Rolando is saying, I smell deflected answer from Derrick. John thinks Derrick has been punched too many times. You people are animals. And of course, here's a smart comment. Once again, Michael wins with facts and logic. Tater tots are clearly the best. Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate it. Finally, we have somebody with some sense out there. Okay.
Mike is logged in as Johnny in the chat, and because last time I think it was Johnny that was agreeing with you about the other food topic, you got to change your nickname at least.
No, the same person can show up more than 1 week in a row. There's no physical evidence that Johnny is me.
No physical, yeah, but
no physical evidence of that. So we're not going to talk about that. So we're going to change the topic now. We're going to talk about our favorite ideas for the upcoming week. So who wants to step up?
I'll step up because I don't have a whole lot, but I do like the yen a lot. If you look at the weekly chart of the yen, the YINN, which is the leveraged FXI.
Do you want to? Sorry, Sami. Do you want to pull up your charts?
Yeah. Let me just. I have my charts, but I can't use them for this for this platform. So I gotta open up TC2000. It takes a second, so just give me 1 second.
All right. We are still getting some CoreWeave haters in here. CoreWeave business has too much competition, but established in the space already have their workload. long-term target is 50 to 60. John is telling me I eat prison food. Nope, never been convicted. Greek lemony potatoes, also a good choice. So Sammy's going to be up with
my charts in just a second. Here it is.
All right.
Here we go.
Okay.
So check out what I see on the yen here, which is the leverage ETF for China. I don't like buying after a multi-bar move up to resistance on the daily chart. So that's not a great area to be buying. But if you look at the weekly chart, this is a sell setup failure. So it went up, tried to go lower, and it's failing on it. The sell setup doesn't really fail until you take out the prior high, which is this here. But then you have a bigger stop to deal with. And so I like China long term. I have for a long time, and I've played BABA, played JD multiple times. And now I'm in the yen. It's actually out of, I think, 19 stocks that I have in my IRA, it makes up 54%. So let's hope I'm right about it. I like the CWeb also. It's the same thing. They're both going to work or both will fail. But I'm in the yen, not in the CWeb. The same kind of pattern on the weekly. It's a sell setup failure. I got in it a little bit early, so I don't know that this sell setup is going to fail. This sell setup right here. Sell setup meaning, you get a rally and then it starts to roll over, and then that rollover is failing, but we don't know for sure yet. If I'm not in the CWeb, I'm in the yen, but it's the same picture. If the yen takes out $34.11, I'll be out. But barring a break of 34, I'm going to hang on for dear life and hold it for the long haul. That's kind of my main symbol. I have other symbols. A lot of them triggered yesterday. Today, the data dog triggered. We'll see. Don't love it on the weekly, but this is a daily breakout. Stop is here. We'll see. I don't like the way it triggered and got sold. It's back down to break even, basically, because the entry was at 119.50. But we'll see. The YEXT as a day trade is cooking. I hope some of you are in it. Beautiful 5-minute chart. I have a call on it in the room. It took a while, but that looks pretty good. And that's it.
So 54% of your IRA is in yen?
Correct. I hope I'm not wrong.
That's why. Didn't you do this with Tesla a few years ago?
Except it was more like 150% of my account in Tesla, meaning I had it on margin on top of, but it wasn't also in my IRA. My IRA actually had the TSLL. It wasn't the Tesla, but in my regular account, I had Tesla. And that was 100% plus of my account. It paid off.
Yeah, Liam is saying, so degen, LOL. Mike Trades is saying, wow, that's a bit. So yeah, that is like the most ridiculous retirement account planning I've ever heard of in my life. But if it works, it works.
I'm already semi-retired. Why would I need to plan for it if I'm already there?
Very true. But I don't know. There's just something hilarious about TSLL in an IRA of all things. Okay, JR, Derrick, who wants in?
I can hop on in. So a bunch of things have triggered in the last day or so as the market actually broke out. But there are still some things there that I are real leaders in this market that I think, be a little bit cautious on chasing, but some of these trades are potentially still there. So I saw someone ask someone recently, like, well, which one is going to be the next Carvana? And that was a few days ago. And I said, the next Carvana, why not just buy Carvana? Is basically what my thought process was. This is a leading stock. It's trending higher. It looks fantastic. And that was $20 or so ago, and it's continuing. And I think that you can still watch these leaders for continuation. Don't chase. I very, very much don't like to chase price. I would rather miss a move than chase the price on that move and have a worse risk reward on the actual trade. But the leaders are still there. And those leaders are your Carvana, They are your snow. We've been looking at snow here these last several days for continuation. The leaders are Spotify. Spotify giving further continuation even today. And if you want something that is maybe like a little bit almost like tier 2 isn't leading as much as these stocks are, but like Pinterest starting to wake up above this 32 as it got an upgrade a couple trading sessions ago and giving some continuation today. XYZ not really giving further continuation today, but this was on our list yesterday when it got upgraded for a long versus like $62. It worked like literally to the penny. So we'll see if we get some further upside there. Same deal. The semiconductors still, generally speaking, look fantastic, but we do have AVGO earnings tomorrow, and it's getting really extended into it. So I'm a little bit wondering if on like an AVGO earnings report, we get like something similar to what we just saw with the CRWV. I didn't think that the CrowdStrike earnings report was bad, but they sold it down because they bought it so much into that report. And when you really buy a stock up into a report, sometimes a good earnings report is not good enough. So some of these semiconductors look great. AMD above 115. We called that one out yesterday. It's also looking really good here. Again, it'll probably move based on AVGO, so be a little bit careful. Now, with all that said, there's a bunch of these individual names that I like. I am watching very closely to see if we get a failed breakout on the indexes right now. I'm going to circle back to what I said earlier. There's 1,001 reasons to be bearish. I don't want to be shorting a market that is breaking out. That is not a smart move. It's a great way to lose money. But I do have it in the back of my head that at a certain point here, there are some catalysts, even though the market has done a fantastic job ignoring every negative catalyst recently. I've seen this in my career, and it's one of the things that's always kind of blown my mind about trading. And I've started to realize it's a lot to do with market dynamics pretty often. But over the course of my career, I've seen these instances where bad news comes out, market goes up. Bad news comes out, market goes up. Bad news comes out, market goes up over and over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden, seemingly randomly, the market goes down. And then the financial media on TV will be saying all of the reasons that we had been saying for the last 2 weeks that couldn't actually bring the market down. And then they're repeating all those reasons that we knew 2 weeks ago on that day when the market actually breaks. So I'm, registering in my head that we had 4 economic numbers so far this week, and 3 of the 4 have been bad. And there's some other things that aren't going as well. It's in the back of my brain, but it's like I said earlier, when the market broke out yesterday, do I want to be shorting that? No, I don't want to be shorting that. I want to be buying that breakout in the indexes. I want to be buying the breakout in all those leading stocks that I just went over. But in the back of my head, I'm like, hey, I think the market dynamics are not bearish in the way that they were in February. Remember, February, the market was giving a false breakout of a 3-month consolidation. Fantastic for continuation. But I was on the show saying, hey, I am net short. I think that this is going to be a false breakout here, and the market dynamics are set to really lead into heavy selling. We're not in that same situation right now. They're not as bearish as they were then, but they are not as supportive as they have been for the last several weeks either. And you had a very strong underlying bid from the systematic strategies that were out there for 3 weeks. And that's another thing. They don't care who the president is or what the fundamentals are or what the trade war looks like. They're buying because their rules say to buy. And now they are no longer buying because their rules say not to buy. They're not necessarily selling. They could become sellers if the market breaks down. And again, this is how feedback cycles work. Buying leads to more buying. That manifests itself technically as an uptrend. Selling leads to more selling. That manifests itself technically as a downtrend. And generally speaking, trying to pick absolute tops and bottoms is a little bit of a fool's game, but we can have measured ways where we can find spots where, all right, maybe there's a failure here, or maybe there's enough extension here where I can short for a retracement. Maybe that retracement becomes a reversal. So I like a lot of stocks right now. There are a lot of charts that look fantastic, albeit some of them are a little bit extended and already triggered in the last couple of days. At the same time as that, I don't think it's impossible that we have a failed breakout. I'm not calling for it. I'm just very mentally prepared for it to happen.
All right. Thank you, Derrick. JR, buddy.
Hey, dude.
What's going on?
I don't have a lot to add to what Derrick and Sami said. They say they'll come for for the food controversy, you'll stay for Sammy's charts. I believe that's on the brochure. Yeah, so I was talking about Unity last week. I'm still looking for after the declining top line break for a move to 30. SCIC building a beautiful right side base here, 86.95. I think we're going to go kaboom. I wouldn't mind if it base for another couple of weeks. Cheesecake Factory just took a right side base break this week. I'm looking for a $13-14 measured move. SWKS neckline breakthrough 70.32. Looking for 80 and 95. Deer, this is a pullback continuation type of trade off the breakaway gang banker VWAP. Looking for a quick test of 533, 540. Royal Gold, we called this one out last week when I was here. Now I'm looking for it to take out day highs. Gold, it looks like it's going to make a beeline for 3,600 again. So that one looks great. AVGO, that was one of my main focuses last week when we shared watch lists. It's putting a bit of a shooting star in for today, but I do believe the pullbacks are viable in AVGO. Off of earnings, I expect them to do very, very well. Hopefully we get that move to 300, 320. Carvana, we've been calling this one long since 311.88. I believe this is going to 400. Robinhood, breakaway gap, sort of an inside day. $85 looks like it's next. Wheat and precious metals, this was on the watch list last week with you guys as well. Gorgeous breakaway gap triggering the inside bar breakout today. This one has a day with Destiny at 100. Spotify has to be the prettiest chart of the month, and 7.25, 750 looks like it's next. INCY, gorgeous inverse head and shoulders break. You finally got through the declining line, and now you took out the 200. On the daily, this one I'm expecting $76 on. Bebop, Banco Popular. Remember those commercials from the 80s, the Banco Popular commercials? Just a beautiful long base here, multi-month base with a tight kind of volatility contraction pattern near the top. Tells me where they're pushing overhead supply higher. OR royalties, fantastic. You're building a 4-bar play here, and I'm looking for $30. PGR, look at this one. Oh my God, this is Playboy centerfold material. You're taking out 292.89, looking for a $16 to $20 measured move. Not technically an inverse head and shoulders, but I'm going to call that good enough for government work. I got two more for you. Meta, last week we had the break at 662.67. I'm calling all-time highs on Meta in the next couple of weeks. And finally, core mining. This was on the watch list last week, broke out. We're still in this one looking for 10.50. And that's all for today, Professor.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I hope everybody had fun today. We will be back next week where we will discuss, I've been watching Sex and the City lately. Next week, we're going to talk about like which characters each of us are. So I hope you guys tune in. Everybody have
the show.
I'll see
You're
you the week
talking
after.
to a bunch of dudes, bro. Can we do the A-Team instead? I think we can probably relate a little bit better. Or WWE characters.
maybe like 80s TV show action heroes, because like obviously I'm Michael Knight because he's the best. All right,
Also,
everybody.
I don't know who that is either. I don't know who any of these people are.
Oh, come on. Michael Knight. Millennials. What are we going to do tomorrow?
I don't know what to do. All right, everybody have a wonderful day. We will be back next week, I think. So have a good day.